to Campfire Tales, episode
2.5.
2.5, second take, whatever you want to call it.
You don't have to say second take. They don't know.
They might know. Who knows how the coding works?
They're in the system.
This isn't the Matrix game. This is
They've been watching us all along.
There's something out there.
Ooh. I'm Teal, and I'm the storyteller for Campfire Tales, and this is Dylan.
Hello, I'm Dylan.
Who, for this episode, was our guest musician, our bard.
That's true. I got to make the music, the soundtrack, if you will, for the entire evening, which was a blast.
So everyone's asking, what in the world were you playing back there?
Magic.
Ooh. The Gathering?
Finger.
No, don't do that.
What I like to call it is a space saxophone. What it is actually is a electronic wind instrument. And if you want to get specific, it is a Roland Aerophone AE Pro, which is a particular kind of electronic wind instrument that is extremely similar to a saxophone. It has a mouthpiece, a reed. You play on the mouthpiece just like you would with a saxophone. It has a bite sensor, an air sensor, so you can tongue and fluctuate your air just like you would on a real instrument. But unlike a saxophone, it has like 150 instrument sounds in its sound bank, which makes it a really fun tool to kind of jump around to different sound worlds. And some of them are very melodic, some of them are very rhythmic and bass, and some of them are even atmospheric. There's one tone that I use on in this performance where it's kind of like tonal wind. So even though I'm blowing into the instrument and tonguing, the response is actually slower because the wind doesn't just start going instantly. It's I blow ta and then
It blossoms.
and then I can kind of control how strong the wind is blowing based off of my own air, which is really fun. And then the fact that there is a pitch to it meant that I could, if you listen really closely, I actually am playing a song very slowly with the wind.
Ooh, what song were you playing?
Do 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 do.
That sounds familiar.
Do 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 do. Etc. 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 etc.
Nice. So now that you've been on both sides of the playing, both as a gamer and the musician, what was it like being the musician and interacting with the story as it was unfolding?
So it's interesting because it's a different kind of listening. So if you're sitting up on stage as a player, you're really paying really strong attention to the actions and the story that's happening, and you're reacting to it. And as the musician, you're kind of doing that as well, but it's kind of in a way with goldfish memory.
Okay.
Because you're reacting to what's happening in that exact moment. You're not worried about the story arc or the character arc. You are truly experiencing it moment to moment. Whereas as the player, I did have a vested interest in my character progressing and going through the story and hopefully surviving and doing really cool stuff. But as the musician, it is purely what's happening, how can I reflect that in the score? And so in some ways, I know, even though I was actively watching and listening to what was happening, I remembered a little less clearly than I did when I was a player.
How does the preparation process look for something like this? Because we have our theme song and there's sheet music for that, but other than that, you're kind of just on your own.
Yeah, so, I am not a professional electronic wind instrument space saxophone player. It's not something I do all the time.
Not yet.
It is a tool in my toolbox. I am a professional clarinetist. I learned, all of the things you would expect to learn as a clarinetist going through school and playing professionally. And so, like, when asked to do this, I was strongly considering bringing my clarinets because I knew I could do it on the clarinet. It would be great. I thought about bringing my bass clarinet just because I knew it would create a little bit more variety. And I knew low bass clarinet would be really cool and have that rumble. But then I have been experimenting for the past couple years with the Aerophone and using it in a couple of my more experimental music performances that I do myself. So I wanted to try doing it with that. And so I kind of went through the sound bank of the instrument, really, and I made basically a cheat list. So on the back of the instrument, you have a couple dials, and the dials and some buttons, and you can kind of like jump quickly through 150 tunes, 150 tones. You have like 15 on the dial, so like you can jump kind of. They're broken down into instrument types. You can kind of quickly jump between them, so I can jump from the saxophones to keyboards to guitars to
Like erhu.
yeah, to ethnic instruments and all kinds of different things pretty quickly. But then I have to cycle through them. So each one has a separate code on it. So I made basically a cheat list going, these are the tones that I think would be really useful. And then I just shorthand jotted down some notes like, 1.08 laser sound, really good for 80s melodic line. And then wind sound, great creepy atmosphere. And so like when I knew what was happening in the scene, I would quickly jump to that tone that I thought would be best fitting to it. I wasn't blindly leaping around on the edge because it's like 150 tones. And
Yeah.
there's definitely some that wouldn't have been great. Although I was really tempted to bring out the scat voice option, which is just a blast and just makes me giggle every time I listen to it. But we didn't use it. Wasn't appropriate.
Maybe next time. Well, thank you for talking a little bit more about the experience of being the musician for Campfire Tales. We're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to hear from our guest, Chalice, who's going to tell us a little bit about her artistic practice and her experience with Campfire Tales. Hello, and we're back with Campfire Tales, and we have a wonderful guest with us, Chalice Meikle. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolute pleasure.
So you mentioned that you had played tabletop games before at the very top.
Yes, once, and it was Dungeons and Dragons with the 20 die, I think.
20-sided die.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That. Yeah. It was only once, but I really enjoyed it. I really got into the character. It was a lot of fun.
Great. And I love that you came back for another opportunity playing a different type of tabletop game with the not Jenga.
Yes, the not Jenga, of course. The not Jenga. What was it?
Tumbling wood block tower.
Tower of Doom.
Yeah.
Tower
of Fate.
Fate, excuse me, Tower of Fate.
But before we delve into the game,
Do it.
before we delve into the game itself, we'd love to know more about you as an artist. Can you share a little bit about your what you do?
Yeah, I'm predominantly a painter. I'm trained in painting. I graduated from Savannah College of Art and Design in 2015. I'm trying to get into sculpture, mostly ceramics, and hoping for some welding, but I got to do some grant writing for that. So fingers crossed.
Yes, write all the grants.
All the grants.
Best advice you can give an artist is figure out the grants. Just
Yeah.
figure it out. No one taught you how to do it. Just figure it out.
Go really bother someone else, honestly, to help me with the grant.
Get started and it gets easier the more you do it.
Yeah.
I've heard. Yeah, I've heard.
Well, that's exciting. What got you interested in ceramics and welding?
I got stuck in a rut in like 2018. I wasn't painting for quite some time. And then I think it had to be 2021. I took a welding class. I needed to do something with my creativity. And I was like, okay, painting is annoying. So try something else. Yeah. And then I still remember the first time I made like a tiny, tiny vase in ceramics. And I felt like I made magic. I was like,
What
okay.
I did.
Yeah, I felt like a
With
little
your
kid
own two
again.
hands, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like a kid again. I was like, okay, I need that. Yeah, and so I just every now and then I do piddle around with some kind of other creativity, like writing or photography or dance. But yeah, professionally, I think I want to get more into sculpture.
I love that. Because as an artist, it's easy to kind of like box ourselves into one medium.
Very.
Like, I'm just a musician, so I can only do music things. I'm just a painter, so I can only do painting things.
Are we describing our undergraduate experience?
Oh gosh.
That's what
Let's
I'm
not-
hearing. That's what I'm hearing.
But there's no limit on creativity and pushing into other fields because it can add to your artistry. It can take you into different paths.
Yeah,
New tools for your toolbox.
exactly.
And we're always learning and growing.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited. Yeah.
And you also lead two local groups, right?
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So at Free Range Brewery, I host free figure drawing every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then Wednesdays, we alternate times. But the first and second Wednesday of the month, we have afternoon sessions. They are portraits, they're clothes, so it's all age friendly. So yeah, every first and second Wednesday, it's 2 to 5 p.m. And every third and fourth Wednesday, it's an evening class, so 6 to 9 p.m. Yeah.
I know we officially met through Charlotte is Creative, but I remember, I think the first time I like interacted with you was at one of the figure drawing classes
Oh, cool.
because that was the day that Burnt Reeds was giving their premiere of 6 pieces that they commissioned by local composers, and Free Range had sort of double booked the space
Yes.
with the class.
Yes.
And we came up with the idea to share the space,
Yes.
which I think worked out really beautifully for both sides. I will say, as a classical musician, I've never performed in a room with nude artists.
Fair. Yeah. That had to be. Yep.
It definitely like had to keep my eyes on the page, but
It was unique, that's for certain.
I actually loved it because
Nice.
even if I was a little like intimidated at the start of it, like it pushed me into something new and pushed me outside my comfort level
Okay.
in a good way. Like that's
Awesome.
how we grow as people, right?
Yeah. I'll say as an artist there, that's like we still talk about that day. It was so lovely just to be like serenaded by these lovely, lovely instruments. Yeah, like music is not the same anymore.
We'll just have to make it happen again.
That would be great. That would be very awesome. We actually sit so at Free Range before the model was on the stage but obviously like you guys needed to occupy that. So now mimicking that, now we have the model on the floor and then we sit around the model now. And it's honestly because of that day. It's much better for the artist because you get a 360 view of the model.
Get different options for where
Yeah.
Yeah, different options. Nobody has a bad view. Like it was honestly like a happy accident for us. Yeah, in so many
I
ways.
love that.
Yeah.
So, stepping back a little bit, what led you into becoming a professional artist in the first place?
I was obsessed with it since like 6. Yeah, honestly. I learned who Van Gogh was and I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, and then that just slowly evolved into learning more artists and yeah, just keep on falling in love with different artists and then doing some research and finding out some artists like, I don't like that guy, whatever.
yeah. I mean, it's the same experience I had with music growing up. It's like
Fair.
I wanted to do music my entire life. It was the only option. It was the only thing I was interested in. And, first you're like, oh my God, Mozart. And then you're like, oh, Beethoven. And then you're like, Brahms, he's amazing. And now like, they're not even on my playlist. Like,
Good to know. I'm going to have to look up Brahms. I'm unfamiliar with that name. Yeah.
From the romantic period, took himself way too serious.
Okay.
he takes forever to say what
One thing.
Beethoven already took forever to say.
Nice. This is awesome.
But also, there's a lot of wonderful
Don't come
female
at me, classical music people.
classical composers from those times that don't get played a lot. Anyway, that's its own separate thing.
That's everywhere. That's all art.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions?
Well, I mean, there's dang.
We got this.
Surprise!
So
I got one.
Yeah.
What do you do in your day-to-day life?
Day to day. My dream is to have an actual set schedule where it's like I do this at this time, I do this at this time, and like that involves like working out and eating food. But
Yes, please do
Yeah.
eat food.
I forget so often. It's so bad.
If I don't put it on my calendar, I forget.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. No, then anyways.
that's not how I operate.
No, like I'm running. I run around a lot. I manage. So yeah, managing free range brewery, figure drawing. That's a lot of scheduling, along with Charlotte Portrait Group. That's our Wednesday classes. And I recently said yes to managing Charlotte Comedy Theater's box office employments. I don't know the words is now, but yeah. So I decided to say yes to that, which is awesome because I love CCT. I love Kelly. She's the executive director. Oh, right. But day to day. So meetings from like 10 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually I remember to eat some time in between there. And then just as an artist, there's so many hats to wear, right?
Right.
So I do my best. It's like, okay, marketing is this hour, but I usually go over that hour.
Marketing takes so much time.
It is so much time.
It's hard to do the art and then market the art and then get people to buy into your art. Like
Yeah, I don't get it.
And then
You need,
have
like,
to
3
actually
different
run
people.
the event.
that too.
Yeah, that's its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's usually packed from like Monday to Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday I don't schedule meetings because I just want to sit on the couch and then usually catch up with other marketing or grants or proposals or opportunities.
Don't you also do water painting of mandalas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very meditative practice, very simplistic. Mandalas in Hindu and Buddhism are it's the symbol for the universe essentially. Yeah, and even drawing them is really therapeutic and just lovely. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. It's
I
awesome.
like that I hear just a lot of different things in your life. It feels like it's very full, as in all of our lives full.
Yes.
but well balanced. Because I don't know, at least for me personally, if I devote too much time to just the music, everything else can feel so akimbo. And I feel like my whole life is one thing when it's not just one thing.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds honestly nicer. Like, I'm scattered. Like, I really, really am. I would much rather have just, like, one thing to focus on.
Grass is greener, you know.
Yeah, true. That'd be nice. Yeah, no, that being said, I wouldn't do it, though. Like, I would say yes to other things and just put more
Yeah.
on my plate.
It's hard to say no.
It is.
Even if you have the one thing, opportunity still comes, and you're just like, I want to do that too.
Yeah.
And then you still feel stretched then. So
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's all artists, honestly, right? Unless you have like a project manager or a marketing person or a grant writer,
that
like
helps.
right?
An actual crew to take care of the things that drain you.
That'd be amazing. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's delve into your experience with Campfire Tales. First of all, did you have a good time?
Oh my God, it was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. I really, really loved it. Yeah.
Can you kind of like lift the curtain a little bit and tell us a little bit about your character and what went into that character creation?
Yes, I honestly wish I did more. I'm a little embarrassed that I didn't do more into my character development, but I did my best to be myself, but more of like more fight. Chalice, me, like I have a tendency to like fawn or freeze. So I was like, no, we're gonna change it up a little bit.
I like that.
Yeah, like it was like this is the one opportunity to have courage and like use it. or pretend that I do.
Because what's the worst that can happen when you're playing a game?
Exactly.
It's supposed to be empowering, like you're living out a version that could be you.
Yeah.
So I love that it was you, but just a little bit slightly different.
I
Yeah.
love that about tabletop games because it frees you in a way to be more than what you are.
Yeah.
And I remember very specifically in D&D having that experience where there was an opportunity to jump off a cliff onto the back of a dragon.
Nice.
It's like, of course that's what I'm gonna do.
It's totally dumb. Guaranteed death.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's epic, and just like, where else can you do like something like that? So like just
Yeah.
embracing possibility and going for it.
Yeah. No, that's something I love about tabletop games for sure, is embracing possibility. I didn't realize how much improv was going to be involved, though. I think that was probably my most favorite component.
Surprise.
No, that was no. Yeah. You said it. You even.
It's hard to really describe what Campfire Tales is.
Yes.
And yet it's
Even with words.
really
Yes.
easy once you like see it happen. It's like, oh yeah, it's that.
Yeah.
Even watching she said videos as well. Even watching the videos, I was like, okay, I think I get it. And what was even better is like getting on site. Everybody felt the exact same way. I was like, oh, thank God I'm not alone.
Yeah.
That was nice. Yeah, like my mom, she kept asking me what it was, and I finally was just like, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm excited.
Well, and I purposely didn't tell y'all really
Yeah.
much about it
Okay.
because I wanted everybody to kind of explore it together.
Nice. I like that.
What did you
Yeah.
think about the questions that led into your character development?
I wish I gave myself more time. I think that
Admittedly, I didn't give y'all much time.
you
I think it
did.
was like
No, at least
3
like
days.
was it like I thought it was like a week.
Maybe it was a week.
I think it was like a week, yeah. But then, of course, you gave me the reminder the day of. And I was like, fuck. Just everything. Come on, Chalice. Like, get a better schedule. So and I was actually filling it out as I was getting a tattoo. I was getting this one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was great.
So were you doing that with your left hand? While
I
you...
was.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of myself, I'll be honest. But also, pro tip, next time I get a tattoo, I'll do my left side so I can just do things. But one of the questions was, where are you more likely to meet a friend? And because I was getting a tattoo and I made a friend that day, I was like, this is a great answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I really like the questions that you chose.
Oh, good.
Yeah. That was
I
one
like
of the-
to-
yeah.
I like to leave the questions really open because sometimes, like with D&D, it can feel like, oh, a rogue does this, or a thief does that, a barbarian does this. The questions are really meant to just give you a start place.
Okay.
That way, when you're up on stage, it's not like you're starting from a blank piece of paper.
Smart.
Which,
Yeah.
oh my gosh,
Let me
that
check
would be
my notes
terrifying.
how I would react.
I don't know.
I'll even admit, like I was like, I need to look at my answers again, like just to make sure, because just ADHD really, but yeah, I did. That's the only regret I have is I wish I made more time to be with the questions and not just like panic do it now. Yeah.
Well, the plan is for there to be more than just this season of Campfire Tales.
Good.
Maybe you can come back sometime.
That'd be
Yeah.
wonderful. It was so much fun.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
If you were to sum up Campfire Tales in one sentence, how would you describe it? Or describe your experience?
Like words.
Perfect.
Thank you. One sentence describe Campfire Tales.
It's a big question.
I know, yeah. I want to say it's really just like bullet points in my head right now, but like live action. I didn't realize it was going to be in person, which I should have, because I'm pretty sure you had that in your email. So yeah, live action, laugh, and just engaging, because I love it that the audience got to be involved as well.
Mhm.
That was really good. That felt more like a board game, I guess. I
Yep.
think that was one of the components that made
Yeah.
it feel more like a board game and less like not like being on stage.
We are
and-
performing.
yeah, it didn't even feel like a performance.
Oh, good.
Yeah. 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 Honestly, just hanging out with friends. joking around. Oh my goodness.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because when I describe Campfire Tales to people, like it's based in horror, but really it turns more into like Monty Python skits.
100.
Just
Yes.
shenanigans.
Yes. Yeah.
And this game in particular, oh my gosh, so many shenanigans. So many
Yeah.
things I didn't think were gonna happen.
Nice.
Like the three ladies ganging up on Alonso.
Yeah.
Did not predict that at all.
He ran. Like, what? Of course we're gonna chase him.
It's just like take down the patriarchy.
Yeah.
And then Maud totally did her own thing.
I loved her character. Yeah, I'll admit, meeting Maud, I was like, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So who was Chalice, your character? Can you give us a little bit insight into her?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I don't remember what I wrote down.
That's okay. It's been
Excellent.
like 1,000 years.
It has been 1,000 years.
Broad strokes.
I do.
Remember you talked about her being like a yogi.
Yes, that's right. Much more yoga, a little less art. I think I said I was a curator. Yeah. But yeah, very hippy dippy. I was the one with the brownies.
Muffins.
Muffins, that's right. Excuse me, muffins.
Oh, it's good. We went on a whole tangent about the butter.
That's right. Yeah, it was a bit more like who I actually wish I was. Like, it's just chill and like down to earth instead of like squirrels fighting in my head. Yeah, like chill down to earth, but also like not afraid, but courageous. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it was yeah, thanks.
So besides pulling from the Tower of Fate, reacting to the audience and your fellow players, there was a musician on the stage.
Yes.
What was that?
Well, yeah. What was that device? It's like tongs and you put a bow on it.
The whalophone or the
It's
waterphone.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Like such creepy sounds.
It's so creepy.
Yeah.
It's so great.
When
Yeah.
we originally were like putting together this idea for this show, that was a must-have item once we realized it existed.
Like I went down the rabbit hole of whalophones. Like I looked at a bunch of different videos, listened to a bunch of different like makes and models, and I found the one that I wanted,
Okay.
which you could only get through Etsy. And it came from Poland.
Oh my gosh.
Like hyper specific.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
nice.
Well, it's not something that's
And a grant helped me get
mass-produced. It's
Right. Yeah.
custom-made,
Yeah.
handmade, welded, I'm sure.
Probably. Yeah. Something. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how instruments are made. I need to look into that.
I mean,
Just because, yeah.
if you ever talk to a percussionist, sometimes they'll just go and they'll just like pull stuff out of their kitchen or their toolbox, and suddenly they're like creating their own percussion instrument, or they'll go to a junkyard and find something.
Nice.
Or I know a professional musician that goes dumpster diving. Like you find inspiration
Yeah.
all sorts of places.
100. Yeah. No, I'm gonna one of the sculptures I'm working on is contact lens cases, like the daily.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm collecting them, so tell your friends. I don't know what I'm gonna do exactly yet. Like maybe I'm a hoarder and just rationalizing my behavior. But it's like so far I want to make like these sheets and then like maybe have another artist like project something cool over it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. Fingers crossed.
I can't wait to see that vision come to fruition.
I like it. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah. But yeah, no, dumpster diving. All artists. Yeah, trash is awesome.
Repurpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reuse. So yeah, the whale phone was a core part of our conception for the show, and so every performance, we'll call it a performance.
Yeah.
We bring a small toolbox of percussion equipment, and so the whalephone is one. So even if I'm not doing the music for the next show, the next musician will have that available to them. We'll bring it.
Yeah.
Nice.
But you brought something special with you.
I did. Did you see what I was playing?
Was it
Give him
clarinet?
I'll see.
It looks like one.
Bassoon?
He plays
No.
clarinet.
So
There was a bassoon there, though, right?
the first time. Second
Okay.
time, I was playing an electronic wind instrument.
Yes.
Called a Roland Aerophone.
Okay.
He also calls it a space saxophone.
I do.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because it's
Yeah.
very evocative, and once you see it, it's what it looks like. I did consider just bringing my clarinets, because I have several, and I could have brought a bass clarinet, and I could have done the show that way. But I really wanted to try using the Aerophone because I knew it had so many different capabilities in it. And so I brought that, and I brought my loop station. And I was like, between these two things, I should be able to match whatever was going on stage. And I'm just curious, from your perspective, did the music enhance? Did it distract?
No, it definitely made it way better.
Yeah, I'm not just saying that because I'm here.
Yeah. No, truly, like it definitely helps immerse yourself in the situation because it's using another sense, right? Because then we can imagine turning into zombies and trapdoors and this and that. Like we can imagine it, but the sound is what makes it like, gives you goosebumps and stuff. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
So, who do you think pulled the most from the Tower of Fate?
I don't know. It had to be what's his face? The dude.
Alonzo?
Yeah, like towards the end, he was like, it was several times in a row. So I'm gonna go Alonzo.
What do you think?
I'm thinking of one of the people.
So we had, oh yeah, those are the names.
I feel like Alexis pulled a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say Alexis.
Did she die first? I think she died
She died
first.
first.
I
Yeah.
died second.
But then she was back on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't actually die.
So we'll go in order of least pulls to most pulls.
Okay.
The person with the least pulls was Kirsten.
Mhm.
She actually only pulled once. And I think it's because she went so like dark side. I didn't quite know how to like
That's awesome.
get her to pull for the common good.
Ah.
It was just like there's darkness happening. And she's like, yes.
Yeah.
Your friends got murdered. I love it.
That's right. Her name was Kristen. Yeah. That's right. That's right. I keep calling her Maud.
Literally, like when she showed up, I didn't recognize her. I thought it was
Yeah.
a stranger because Kirsten has blonde hair.
And
she wore-
bright and bubbly.
Yeah.
And like the way she walked into the space, I was like, that has to just be somebody here early. Oh my gosh.
That's so funny. That's awesome.
Yeah, she really got into it.
Yeah, she did.
The person that was next in the polls was Alexis.
Okay.
She pulled twice.
Nice. Okay.
And I guess the second one was just too much for her. That's when it
Yeah.
went
That's
over.
right. That's right.
Betsy got her. And then you were the second most polls.
Okay.
You pulled 4 times.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Alonzo pulled the most with 5.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, because towards the end there, he was like one right after the
It's
other.
like, yeah,
All
go,
the
go.
pulls that happened.
Yeah, so it's kind of shocking because the first game that we ran in September, I had a little bit more of a structurally sound, not Jenga, tumbling block tower. And there was more polls, there was a little bit more story. This time I wanted it to be a little bit more punchier to the action.
Okay.
So I pulled more from the tower at the setup.
Mm-hmm.
The first tower actually only lasted 5 polls,
Oh,
which is crazy.
that is crazy. Yeah.
And then we rebuilt it. It only lasted 3. And
Yeah.
then the last version of the tower was 4 with Alonzo's wonderful character death at the end.
Yes.
Chainsaw in hand.
Right. No, that was a good one. I remember being really. I mean, that's how I play that other game that shall not be named. Yeah, you got to poke it and see which ones are good, but you got to be a little. I was a little.
Yeah, it's okay to
That's okay. It's
Yeah.
just a game after
It
all.
seemed to like intimidate people, and I was like, "It's a game. it's gonna be fine."
That's what I really loved about this cast is that everybody was so eager and willing to jump into the storytelling and they
Yeah.
weren't afraid of the tower. Sometimes you get into games where people don't want to pull from the tower because it's self-preservation. They want their character to live.
they want to get
Fair.
to the end of the story.
Yeah.
But
But we're not going to get there unless a character dies.
action has to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't
Consequent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody's gonna get voted
Yeah.
off the island, like.
And the
Yeah.
whole subplot with like Bartholomew being like the
Yeah.
big bad guy, like that wasn't something I had discussed with them at all. That just came out of the blue on stage and I loved it.
That was awesome.
So I had a plan for the game but I always know it's going to change at like 10 minutes in.
Of course. Yeah.
But it's fun that way.
No, Alexis did a really good job with her character too. I do remember that. But yeah, also knowing her from CEI, it was just really fun to see like all these different variations of friends and colleagues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being creative in new and different ways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So all of our Campfire Tales games are based off of horror or suspense or mystery movies. Do you know what movie this one was based on?
No idea.
Do you watch horror-ish movies?
Ish, probably not enough. Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah. When darkness is not the enemy, but like kind of like when that's when the bad guy comes out, I can't handle those movies. I'm still 5.
You know, there are movies and mediums for everybody.
Yeah.
This one was based off of one of my favorite movies, which is Evil Dead.
Never seen it. Okay.
One of the first movies that I ever showed her when we first met.
Nice.
Do not recommend showing that movie to a girl you've just met for the
No.
first time. Don't know what I
Yeah.
was thinking.
I mean, it worked. Like, maybe it's actually
No,
great advice.
I think the first movie you showed me was Blood Car, which was way
Oh.
worse.
Shout out
That's
to
amazing.
Blood Car. Find it. It's amazing.
Blood car. Done.
Only watch it if you can handle it.
Yeah. I don't mind. Like even like really gory. Like House of the Fall of Usher. It's a TV show.
So good.
Great.
Good. I'm rewatching it just cause. Yeah, my boyfriend Brandon, he can't handle blood at all, so I just watch it alone. But yeah, no, honestly, blood and gore I'm good with. Darkness, I'm 5.
Well, Evil Dead 2 is
Okay.
a real easy introduction to the Evil Dead franchise.
It's the campy version.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's like
so
campy horror.
Yeah,
Evil
perfect.
Dead
Okay.
was like an indie movie. Evil Dead 2 was, hey, we got noticed for Evil Dead. Now we have a budget. Let's make the same movie with a bigger budget.
Oh, I see.
So technically it's a sequel, but it's not really. It's basically just a redo.
Good to know.
Yeah. And then there's a version of Evil Dead 2, which is Evil Dead the Musical.
If you ever get a
Which-
chance,
It's so good.
make sure you sit in the splatter zone.
Good to know.
Yeah,
done. Yeah.
A couple years back, we watched Actors Theater perform.
Actors Theaters of Charlotte.
Actors Theater of Charlotte perform Evil Dead the Musical, and we sat in the splatter zone, and they literally just like aim basically blood cannons at you, and you get pummeled with fake blood.
That's awesome.
Oh, it was a great time.
Yeah, that's
Highly
awesome.
recommend.
That's awesome.
It was great.
Nice. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Movie. Why? You know, I had questions, and then you asked them, and then you come to me and be like, "Hey, ask questions."
Think of your own questions.
Brains are fun like that.
Yeah. It's because I put you on the spot.
Yeah.
I have a question for y'all, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Have you guys done improv classes? Like, it seems very natural. Or is it just because of like years? I'm assuming years of like board game playing that you're able to like think on the fly and whatnot.
A little bit of both, actually.
Okay.
So Teal and I have been playing Dungeons and Dragons together since what, 2016?
Yeah.
But you started playing Dungeons and Dragons in 2014?
No, it was 16.
16?
It was my last year at CIM in grad school.
Okay.
I was dealing with a shoulder injury, so I wasn't able to play music as much. And I was trying to find a way to be creative that wasn't physically limiting. And I had been watching a group play D&D online for like a year or so before that.
Okay.
And Dylan was like, well, why don't you just go join a group?
Nice.
We were
And
living
so-
in separate cities at the time,
Yeah.
so I couldn't go with her.
Lame.
So I know.
Long
why'd you do
distance
that?
relationships are hard.
So I called up a local gaming store, and they're like, oh yeah, we have this group that comes every X amount of times. Like, you can come by and play games. And I showed up, and within 5 minutes of me being there, this old white guy got in my face and told me, you don't belong here. There's no room for you.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
my introduction to the hobby, like that sucked. And then this guy got in an argument with the shopkeep, and eventually they put me at the kid table, which was, like still got to play.
That's good.
And yet still demeaning in a way.
And then at
Yeah,
the end,
yeah.
the old white guy came up to me and was like, "If you want, I can help you make a character for next time." I was like, "Nah, I'm good." So I told Dylan, and he's like, "Okay, well, that's surely the end of her ever wanting to do this at all."
It sucks because I love D&D because it was something I did as a kid with
Nice.
neighborhood kids, and like it was some of my most favorite memories of my childhood was jumping on the back of that dragon,
Yeah.
opening that crypt,
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
getting epic loot.
Nice.
So I think like a week or two later, I went to a different gaming store.
Cool.
And when I was there was literally a group in the corner, like rolling up their characters for the first time.
Nice.
So they welcomed me into it. And one of the guys like helped me make a character because I had no clue what I was doing. And I played with them for a couple months and it was great
Okay.
until the DM started hitting on me in game.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started hitting on me outside of game.
Mm-mm.
And like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
That wasn't it for me. So I bounced around a couple different groups trying to feel a place where like I was comfortable, but I wasn't just like the girl of the group, which is difficult.
Yeah, fair.
And
Still happens where
we even went to a summer festival where like things were done to a female character in front of the rest of us, and it's just like that's not cool. And that was when I decided, well, screw this. I'm gonna just run my own games.
Fuck yeah.
and don't
'cause-
forget the apologists for that DM too. That was also a thing.
Well, there's always male
Yeah.
apologists, but this is
Inappropriate is inappropriate.
Yeah.
This is the difficulty with non-white people trying to get into the hobby is there can be a lot of gatekeeping. So I basically people keeping them outside.
Yeah. No, I'm just really surprised to hear that. Yeah, that's
At least that was my experience.
okay.
Which is one of the reasons that when we created this performance series events, like we wanted to make sure that, people of all types were included in the process because Dungeons and Dragons, which I love, can be very prohibitive for people outside of people that look like me.
Yeah.
And it can't always be a safe space for them. And then just the massive amount of time that goes into a character creation can also just deter some people because you can spend 3 hours at that first session and literally not do anything except for talk about creating your character. Sometimes that's not a lot of fun. But the beauty of this format is, we give you a questionnaire, you fill it out, takes 20, 30, however long.
Max. Yeah.
And then you show up and you play a game.
Yeah.
But you get the same, role-playing experience, which is just really beautiful and fun and collaborative, and you don't worry about, your character sheet, how much loot you're getting, how powerful you are. There's no power gaming in it. There's some self-preservation.
No mid-maxing.
But to your other question about improv classes.
Yeah.
So before Teal and I moved to Charlotte, we were in Columbus, Ohio, and we had started frequenting going to a improv theater there called The Nest.
Nice.
It was just a really fun evening every time we went. Small little venue, maybe you could sit 100 people in, maybe. I don't even think you could fit 100 people in
That's
there.
intimate though. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
More
was just
personable.
so fun. We went to a couple different shows, and some shows were way better than others, but we always had a good time.
Yeah.
And then they did improv class academy.
Yeah.
So that you take a level, and then you can take the next level, and the next level, and the next level. We only took the first level, but at that point, our life moved us to Charlotte, so we couldn't continue on. But we had a lot of fun playing improv games, and
They're so much
Unlocking
fun.
like the silliness that we forget that we have inside us.
100. Yeah.
So shout out to Tara and Rance from Nest Theater because that experience lives with both of us.
yeah, and
Nice.
does inform how we perform in game. So it is definitely in the DNA.
It's a lot more fun to say yes and
Yeah.
than no.
Right?
No,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. No more.
No buts.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you can say no, but you got to give the butt.
Yeah. No, I've done all 4 levels of improv, and it was so awesome and eye opening, and it honestly like helped me just have courage just to talk. Um, but even the other day, somebody like complimented like my quick wittedness, and I was like, oh yeah, like that was from improv. Heck yeah.
Yeah, it felt like you were like really natural on that stage.
I did not feel it, but thank you. I'm glad to know it worked. Something that I loved about how you organize this was one of your questionnaires is like, what are you comfortable with? What are you not comfortable with?
Mm-hmm.
I thought the ethics of that was just so freaking cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, because yeah, like as a DM, as a what's the DM?
Or game master.
Game master, GM. Yeah, thank you. As a game master, like of course you want to make a safe, open place for your players, of course. And it like it was one of those things where why have we been doing this the whole time, kind of thing, right? Like yeah.
And especially because we don't have like multiple games where we really get to know each other and just right off the spot, like you're in front of an audience. I want to make sure that I'm not knowingly like touching upon something that is triggering or like takes you out of the
The
fun.
red line.
Nice.
Because I've been in plenty of games where like that line has been crossed for me, and it's just makes it not fun.
And there's a weird social pressure even when like someone does that. And you're just like, oh, is everyone okay with this? And like everyone just keeps on acting and or playing the game, and it's just like I'm uncomfortable, but I don't want to say anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
That's
there's
no
no,
good.
yeah,
But
screw
thank
that.
you for
Yeah.
bringing that up.
Oh, that was one of my favorite, many favorite things of this whole, how you organized it.
And so few of those things on the sheet actually come out in game.
Right.
It's still really important, at least for me, to know those because you never know where a game is going to go.
Exactly. No, even in improv, when I was on a team called Jackbots, and one of the exercises we do is just go around the room, remind everybody what are your no spots. Like if you interact physically with a partner, what are your no spots? What are your no like any no-nos, anything that you bring up. Like so we did make that space. I also it took some self-reflection too. I was like, oh, I don't actually know like what my no or spots or touches were, and then I saw it happen on stage once. I was like, oh, that, not that. It was specifically one of the games is you play kind of like what's the movie where the guy's dead but they're moving him with strings?
Oh, we can.
Thank you. Yeah, Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah.
So it's Weekend at Bernie's, and so they're moving the other players, and one guy grabs somebody's ankles and then drags them, and I was like, I could not do that. You would get kicked, and I'm sorry. Like, yeah, but it's an awesome time to with these questions of just like what you're comfortable with or you're not comfortable with. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. I don't actually think about that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. It's one of those things like it's such a small part of like the whole, but it was really an important part. Like when we were putting together like what do we want this to be, but it doesn't show up on the stage. Like no one in the audience knows that we want to make sure it's safe for everyone.
As an organizer, I value, like, I see you. Man behind the curtain, I see it. Yeah.
There's a lot of work that goes into the show that is elusive to describe what in the heck it is.
Right. Yeah. Nice.
I mean, I'm good.
Okay.
I think we've covered our bases.
Well, thank you so much for being with us here today, sharing about your artistry and your time. Before you go, would you share where people can follow you and if you have like some shows or exhibits coming up soon?
I wish I did. Lies. I do. Sorry.
I feel like I saw the squirrel pop up. Just
100%. And what literally. Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram or social media as The Real Chalice. Play on my name. I'm gonna get trademarked thanks to CIC.
Hey.
Thanks. And then I do have an upcoming show in February. I don't remember the date. I should. But it's actually with the local artist at Vapa Center, Tia Keneal. She opened up a little gift shop gallery in the basement. So I think it's February 9th. I feel like that's the date. But
I can get the date from you and put it in the
that would be
doobly-doo
great.
description
Perfect.
area.
Yeah, like it's the second. I'm 80% sure it's the second Saturday in February, and I feel like that's the 8th. But yeah, so at the Vapa Center, Tia Keneal in the basement. Gallery and gift shop.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
With pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. No.
This is great. And lastly, before we call it quits for the day, I want to give a special thanks to our audience. Without your support, none of this is possible, and it's helping us create a sustainable future for this show. But most importantly of all, and please, everyone else, close your ears, because this is a message just for one person.
You know who
Justin,
you are.
thank you so much for being our very important guest.
Woo! Thank you, Justin.
Without your support, this show would have collapsed almost immediately. I really, really hope you enjoyed your song.
And that's it for our Campfire Tales behind the scenes of our October game. Special thanks to the Infusion Arts grant that made this possible, supporting local creatives making great art. Another shout out to Free Range Brewing, our wonderful host venue. We love partnering with them and drinking their different beverages. Big thanks to Bobby Kerns Productions for making this whole thing work on the technical side, because goodness, I can't do that.
Invaluable help.
Invaluable help. A big shout out to our amazing cast for this episode. We had Alonzo Cunningham from The Ultimate Gym. We had Chalice, who runs a bunch of different visual arts programs. We had Alexis Carrasquillo, who is a wonderful videographer, photographer. She helped build our website. She does so many wonderful things.
www.phoenixdownrpg.org.
And we had Kirsten, who is a wonderful local violinist and teacher, who showed us that even though there's a narrative in front of you, you can make your own choices. And team mod. So that's it for this episode. Be sure to go to our website, phoenixdownrpg.org, to find where you can enjoy the next Campfire Tales live.